Rest or reps? That is a pretty standard off-week conversation, but the equation changes when you get into the middle of the year, and especially if you have 2 off weeks. And this is improvement week, enhancement week, number 2 for Ohio State. No game on Saturday, but Ryan Day gave a brief lightning round update on Tuesday in here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. So we've got some snap judgments. He's Jeremy Birmingham. I am Austin Ward. Across the board, you can kind of pinpoint who doesn't need the work. And it's maybe even easier than ever after Tuesday's conversation with Ryan Day, where those reps might be important.
Yeah, this was an interesting press conference. Quick, as you said, it's a get in and out. The entire coaching staff is in the building working. We got a bloody Tuesday practice coming up this afternoon. This is a team that is going to handle its business between today and Thursday exactly like it is the game week, and then they'll take some rest. But for Ohio State, I mean, it's clear that there are only a couple spots that feel like there's some room for movement. Ryan Day answered your question about the right guard situation and Tegra Cibola's lack of good play recently and
struggles.
He said we are going to evaluate everything. Again, it feels like to me in this situation, if your effort is to boost Tegra Cibola up, you say we believe in Tegra, he's our guy. We know he's had some struggles, but we're going to work on it over the next week and a half, and he's going to. That's not the vibe I got. I sincerely believe that the odds of Josh Padilla becoming Ohio State's starting right guard for the Penn State game are pretty high. But much like we saw with the punter situation prior to the Illinois game, Josh Padilla now has to go prove it. Like
yep.
Ryan Day last year kept talking about leave no doubt, knock him out. Like that's the same thing for these guys trying to win a job. Like if you're trying to overtake somebody, and that would be 3 guys, that's moving up 3 spots in the depth chart for Josh Padilla if he was able to pull it off. You can't go into practice today or tomorrow or Thursday feeling like, I'm going to be the starter. Like you now have to work harder, and we'll see how Tegra responds, because I think that's the realest conversation Ohio State's having about anything related to how do you change this team before Penn State.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the coaches were on the road on Monday, but I had several, people indicate on Monday that the Josh Padilla conversation was ramping up. Now, that does not mean that a definitive decision, to your point, Berm, has been made for who's going to go start at Penn State, or Tegra Cibola is definitely not going to have an opportunity to go back out there, because one way or another, he will, whether that is through injury, whether that if Josh Padilla goes out in a game or doesn't have the practice. Like, he has played a ton of football. He has been a key contributor to a national champion. He has the experience. He has the size. He has the strength. He has all the tools that you could possibly want. So that is why the challenge is out there for Josh Padilla, and it's up to him to say the floor here now matches what it is with Tegra Cibola. Because if it doesn't, Ohio State is not in a spot where it's going to deal with variance. That goes across the board. When there's all this discussion about now what happens for the run game with the running backs and Isaiah West and Bo Jackson. Can they take these next couple of weeks and just become 1A and 1B? Everyone's asking about the punting situation, how you can improve that. It's about the floor for these guys. Yeah. That is what the coaching staff is looking to evaluate. It is not who has the highest ceiling and can you go tap into that in games. Now, I know that we've also, it sounds like I'm having it both ways, because you see them tinkering in games and experimenting with the offense. And, last week it was, here's what we're going to see where the passing attack is. And well, look, that was way ahead of where you thought it would be. I think that they can be a similar conversation. You still have to have baseline competency, and then what you execute and scheme around that can be different. But for guys up front especially, it's a thumbs up or thumbs down situation. And right now, whether you believe in PFF alone, which you shouldn't, and I don't, but it is a guide that's matching up with what we're seeing with our own eyes. And Ryan Day did not stand up, which he has in other games earlier this year, and say, that's not what we're seeing. Tegra's grading out as champion, and that's why there's not a move. That's not happened in the last several weeks.
No, and there were pointed points of conversation from Ryan Day on Tuesday morning about things that are unacceptable as far as getting away from technique, aside from getting away. It's not just technique. It's execution. It's guys missing blocks. He brought up the plays on Saturday against Wisconsin, the multiple plays in a row in the backfield, where he's like, that's not good enough. And so the question for Tegra Cibola, for Josh Padilla, is even if Josh Padilla overtakes him, is there still rotation? Is there still a competition at that point? Do the roles just flip? Is Josh going out there the first 3 series and then Tegra's getting a 2? Like, we don't know how that potentially could go. But to your point, we're entering week 8 of this college football season. If Ohio State reaches all of its goals and does what it wants, there's still 8 games left. There's a ton of time and opportunity and problems to occur between now and then for anybody who loses reps, anybody who's taking a different route than maybe you'd want them to fix it. So it's an interesting week. I would love to be in a practice like today. Like, honestly, we don't get to see Ohio State practice but in August, and then we're done. Mm-hmm. So I would love to see today's practice, because no game, no conversation afterwards, no press reveal. Let us watch it and see how they go today, because I think it feels like a pretty important day for the staff to remind this team that, yes, there are some guys that have earned their spot, and there are others that this is Ohio State and there's no resting on your laurels.
Well, I think it would be a telling one for a lot of reasons, because Caleb Downs does not need to practice this week. Jeremiah Smith doesn't need to practice this week. Caden McDonald definitely should not. You need to get save as many miles as possible on someone who's going to be, once you get into the talent-equated games, there is not a like-for-like substitution for Caden McDonald on this team. As much as Will Smith has elevated and helped Ohio State in the middle there, they're going to need him to be able to play 50, 60 snaps in the postseason. So and we saw even Tyleek and Ty Hamilton doing that in the postseason a year ago on a team where Caden McDonald still existed. So, that's I think the fascinating dynamic. My understanding is that the first off week was as physical as it could be, because that was at that period where we were talking about new training camp 2.0. This is a different team now a month later. We said that would be the case. Of course, you're trying to evolve and improve and enhance every single week.
Enhance.
And Ohio State has done that. But, most of these positions now, Arvell Reese has played a ton of football as a starter. He doesn't need to go out there and prove a lot more. I think this would be a day where you're talking about, if we go watch it, would we walk out there and see Riley Pettijohn and Peyton Pierce as the 2 linebackers? I think there's a pretty good chance of that. So it's the mixing and matching and trying to find an evaluation and trying to, unlock some of this depth that I think is really intriguing and difficult about coaching, because you said they're going to handle their business today, Wednesday, and Thursday like any other week. And I don't know that that's entirely the case, because you're so deep into this season and who outside of maybe 2 or 3 spots where there's still continued rotation or a need or a want for it, the rest of this is pretty clear.
Yeah, I think for clarity, the intensity, the pace is going to be the same for the guys that are on the field.
Sure.
That doesn't mean that Sonny's going to be on the field. That doesn't mean Arvell needs to be on the field. Doesn't mean a lot of guys. It's actually the funny thing about this team, because we spent so much time in the offseason talking about the lack of experience, and now here you are 7 games in, and the defense is the best in the country, might be the best in the history of Ohio State football. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, now you guys can take a breath, because it's not the defense that needs the extra work. It's the offense. It's the offense that needs to
Maybe they do, because they only played 38 snaps on Saturday.
The offense needs to be cleaner. You're going to face a defense next week in Jim Knowles that has practiced against Ohio State for 3 straight years. You're going to have to come up with some stuff. I know that Jim Knowles and the Penn State defense right now are not what people expected, but you're going to have to come up with something. And it feels like a big week for Ohio State to iron out the things that are causing the offense to be clamped.
Was there anything else that you thought was interesting, perked your ears up?
No, again, this is a very standard press conference. There's not much said. There's a lot of flowers for Julian Sayin, a lot of discussion about the running game, as you mentioned. Ryan Day's insistence is that all the running backs need carries. It's not a matter of James Peoples and C.J. Donaldson needing to be pushed to the side for Bo and Isaiah West, but it's like they're all inexperienced. James Peoples is, in year 2 at Ohio State, and I don't think people should give up on what he can do. He was the heir apparent 10 months ago. So, right. But again, similar to the conversation about Josh Padilla and Tegra Shabola, if the other guys step up, if the other guys come out and take away your reps, how do you respond? And so we'll see what James can get up to this week. And I don't see a scenario where this team is going to rely on Bo Jackson and Isaiah West the way they did Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins for the end of last season. This is still going to be running back by committee, and maybe that wouldn't be the case with Isaiah and Bo 2 years from now, but they're still very, very young.
Yeah, we can forget that at times. The rush to get the next guy in there, elevate, find solutions, which, I'm sort of this mindset where there were enough breadcrumbs sprinkled against Wisconsin that's oh yeah, some of that will connect, some of that will work, and a lot of that, could be tweaking that personnel, not just at running back, but also at right guard or changing schemes. I don't think that anybody played perfectly But like some of the flashes that you saw from Isaiah West, we even saw they lined up in pistol at one point, Burnham, and I'm sure you saw it on the couch. And you said, I know where this is going. That stretch to the boundary. And lo and behold, it popped for 14 yards. It can work.
Yeah, you just can't do that every time.
You don't spam it. You don't do it consecutive snaps. I get all that, but like there were enough things that happened on Saturday that maybe I'm talking myself too much into it. That's like I don't think that it's broken. I truly don't think that they've tapped all that much into it. If Ryan Day was concerned, then on Saturday they would have ran the ball 60 times.
The thing is, if you're playing your best football in September, you're going to get worse. So like this is get better time. Like you can't expect your team to be the same in September as it is in November. If that's what happens, you're doing it wrong. I thought one of the interesting things today was the conversation Spencer Holbrook from Letterman Row asked about Quincy Porter. And it seemed like to me, Ryan Day is understanding that someone else has to be available at wide receiver. We have, unfortunately, those covering Ohio State, those rooting for Ohio State, have seen in the last 7 years, how many different times when the guy that you put everything on your season around all of a sudden is unavailable. And I'm not...
Whoa!
I'm just saying, there's a lot of football, right?
You're dangerously close to speaking something into existence.
I'm saying that there's a lot of football to be played, and you better have backup plans.
Yeah.
And like that's the value of these long seasons now, and that's the value of recruiting 5-star receivers and after 5-star receiver after 5-star receiver. There's no reason, especially, and I mentioned it last week, I think on one of our shows, or maybe I mentioned it on the Letterman Row message board. I don't know. The point is, you are not getting like elite perimeter blocking from Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and anyone else that's out there. And so if the normal rationale for saying, well, we don't want to play the freshmen is because they might not be ready for that physical brand of run game blocking. Who cares? I'm not doing it anyway. So let's see.
I don't think that can be the approach.
Let's see the young guys. When you're just going out there and chucking it around the yard, I want to see the guys who are
okay. Well, then does that mean? And I had this conversation.
Yeah, you got to give them a shot, right? They got to prove they can do it.
I get it. I'm just asking you because we had this same conversation about 11 personnel and Brandon Ennis last week. Are you coming out of Saturday's game now just of this belief that who cares about the run game?
No, what I'm saying
because that's almost the suggestion I'm hearing from you.
You obviously have to be prepared to win the game on the ground in Ann Arbor. Okay, that's like you have to be prepared for that. And I do believe that the program is working to get those inefficiencies ironed out so that they're at their peak by that point. What I'm saying is this: you have an off week. You have a Penn State team that is on the precipice of a complete and utter program collapse. Mm-hmm. They're going to come in here. It's going to be a dogfight. If Ohio State can go into halftime up 3 scores, that game's a wash. Then you have Purdue.
I think if they get it by 7, that game's over.
Then you have Purdue. Then you have UCLA. Then you have Rutgers. You've got time to work some stuff out here. Like the schedule sets up pretty nicely for Ohio State to be able to say, well, hey, let's see what Quincy can do. Let's see what we can get out of Moore Milan. Ryan Day said that they expect to have Bryson Rogers back next week. Like, let's see what these guys can do because Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith, who are the best receivers in the country, don't need to be on the field every play. Yeah. Because Jeremiah Smith looks tired at times. Carnell Tate is getting rocked repeatedly. Like, let's not have something crazy happen when you can get through the second half of the Penn State game and the next 3 games after that and use it as an opportunity to, like, let guys show you what they can do. We saw it with Tywon Malone. All the conversation about Tywon Malone was like, well, we don't know if he can really do it in a game. Is the energy there? Seems to be popping when he's out there. If Quincy Porter struggles in the perimeter blocking, let's see what it looks like. Let's put him out there and go. Like, practice is practice, and I know how important it is for a number of reasons, but the vibe you have when you're in a game is different. So let's just win the Penn State game. And this is obviously a conversation for heading more so out of that Penn State game because I still believe that is a dogfight, despite how dog Penn State has been. I still think that game will be a traditional Ohio State-Penn State game in a lot of ways, but
Penn State will play hard and then choke?
Maybe. Let's hope.
Let's
hope it doesn't matter.
That's what I consider traditional.
But beyond that, like now's the time. You can start building some. You can start tinkering, and it starts this week. I think
This is a tinkering week. I think you said it's get better time.
Yeah.
Just print out the T-shirts and get those out as Ohio State rolls along here with off week number 2. We will be back tomorrow with a little bit of that modified buy or sell stock watch. We will have 3 thoughts on Thursday. We will have a mailbag on Friday with your questions for the beat. And that's it. We're not going to be back in here again. Ryan Day's availability was the only press availability of this week.
And Austin's going to Disney World.
And that is also correct. So I won't be back in here until Tuesday, no matter what. That was already the plan. That's the benefit of having these schedules in advance. So by the way, Big Ten, it's about that time. We need to know what's going on for 2026, but that's another matter. We'll talk about that when the time comes, and it's not right now, because these are snap judgments on a Tuesday in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Thanks so much for joining us on 97.1 The Fan, 10 TV, 10 TV Plus, Apple, Spotify, Roku, anywhere you found us. We appreciate you. He's Brian. I'm Austin. We'll talk to you tomorrow.